The Angry Chicken is a production of Amove TV. Bookmark amove.tv for more gaming and esports shows. The Angry Chicken is directly supported by listeners like you via patreon.com/TAC.
Everyone, get in here! Ready for action! I've got the beast in my sight.
A podcast about Hearthstone, Heroes of Warcraft. This is The Angry Chicken.
Greetings and welcome back, everyone, to TAC. I am your fluffy-haired host for the day, Garrett, and with me, as always, is Jocelyn. How you doing, Joss?
Not too bad this week. It's been kind of quiet in the world of Hearthstone. We haven't had any big crazy announcements. We haven't had any battlegrounds changes. Like it's our first quiet week in what feels like a really long time.
Yeah, like extremely quiet. Because like we are primarily a news-based Hearthstone podcast, and there really isn't any. And in a way,
yeah, there was literally nothing at all this week. Like, we're going to talk about some stuff, obviously, but there was nothing out of Team 5 this week at all. Not even hints at what might be coming.
Are we going to talk about some stuff, or is that just the end of the show? Thank you for coming, everybody. Send your emails to tacpodcast@gmail.com. You can find me at Garrett Art and Jocelyn at Joss Plays. Hope you enjoyed it.
Yeah, easy peasy.
Yeah, I gotta say, it's actually a little refreshing.
It is. It's nice to kind of slow down a bit and take a breath and take stock of what's going on in Hearthstone and how you feel about everything in a week that doesn't have, crazy nerfs, doesn't have any big news coming. It's just kind of like, oh, okay, now we get to take a break, take a breath, figure out, are we even enjoying what's going on in the current meta now that things have settled down? So I'm looking forward to our meta and Grandmasters talks in news this week.
Yeah, it'll be a good time, and we'll be moving into it very, very shortly. I did want to make a note at the top of the show, if you're one of our live viewers, or even if you're a fan of the video after the fact, which this isn't going to affect you too much, but if you are a live viewer, this is going to affect you. We can't seem to connect to Twitch today. Not too sure what the problem is, but we have a pretty tight schedule this week, so we just had to start going. So this is like old school podcasting right here. No one's watching us through this live, Joss, which means I'm going to have to fight the urge to revert to 10 years ago when I used to constantly stop and rethink what I was about to say next because I wasn't recording live.
Oh yeah, no, we are live to hard drive, Garrett. I am not going back and saying the same thing 18 times so we can get a perfect cut.
Nice. Sounds good. Sounds like a plan. So before we move into the first segment of this week's episode, we want to thank those of you supporting us over at patreon.com/TAC. If you are unfamiliar with Patreon, it is an opt-in subscription service for this here very podcast. And every bit helps. You can subscribe for however much you would like, however much works for you. And if you can't, don't worry. But we do appreciate all of the support that we get, and we give you some perks like access to the Tech Discord server, an ad-free feed, as well as other things. So go check it out, patreon.com.
I like calling it a freed. I think that's great. Patreon freed?
Yes, from not being able to monetize it. We're freed from not being able to monetize our podcast, Jocelyn.
Love it.
Nice. Go check it out, patreon.com/TAC. And to some of our more recent patrons, we'd like to thank Redalis, Eric Skygelski, and Discerning Dad. Dad, why are you so discerning? Why? I guess it's not judgmental, Dad.
Yes, it's like discerning. Like they are very picky about things that they like, and one of the things that they like is us.
Well, then I feel very complimented. So thank you, Discerning Dad. Thank you to everyone for supporting us on the Patreon. And now let's get into it. This week's Hearthstone news.
Good news, everyone!
So as mentioned, there's no nerfs to talk about. There's no major Battlegrounds patch, but the meta is settling because there haven't been any nerfs. And it's looking pretty damn healthy, Jocelyn, after, spending weeks talking about concerns. I've, maybe one of us more than the other, and honestly, that probably changed from week to week. About Demon Hunter, as well as some other things, including even Galakron Warlock to a certain degree. It certainly feels to me anecdotally, and seems to be supported by statistics over at HS Replay, that the Hearthstone meta is in a pretty damn healthy place.
It's definitely in a place that is better than it was, because I mean, when we were looking at the tier list on HS Replay just a couple of weeks ago, there was basically tier 1 was 1 Demon Hunter list. Tier 2 had 2 to 3 lists depending on which filter you were using in terms of rank. But outside of that, everything was tier 3. Like, you were seeing tier 3 decks up at the top of the tier list because there were just so many things that couldn't break a 50% win rate. And so we've seen that change a little bit now. I'm not quite sure how much the actual negative win rates has to do with the way the ladder works now. Because at the beginning of the month, there's a lot of people who were getting, big win streak bonuses, and that might have been changing the win rates of the decks very early on in the patch. But now I think things look a lot healthier. You've got Demon Hunter is kind of still powerful, so not nerfed into the ground. So those of you who actually enjoy playing Demon Hunter can continue to do so. But then there's also a lot of things that have kind of caught up in terms of win rate and do seem viable on the ladder. So, we've got some Highlander Hunter stuff at the lower ranks, like what Garrett is showing on the video right now. You've got some more aggressive things like Murloc Paladin, which Murloc Paladin is really fun to play, though it is still super swingy. It's basically like you draw your perfect draw or you don't, and it's you win or you lose. It's very kind of polarized, I think.
It's my switch things up deck right now. It's not the deck that I'm maining, that I'm just slamming games with, but when I'm a little tired of how long my games are going, because a lot of games right now, if you are not playing Murloc Paladin or Zoo or some other aggro variation, games just go pretty long right now. Even though they can end on like low turns, especially, that's still very much a possibility against Demon Hunter. There's so many moving parts to a lot of the popular archetypes right now. It's part of what makes them so volatile, which is why I think, despite the fact that games feel like they're going long, we are still seeing games end on early turns, even outside of the aggro offerings out there. But there are just times, because I've really taken a shine to Galakron Secret Rogue. Like, Secret Rogue is, for me, I think it is there's no I think. It is the most fun I have ever had with a rogue deck. I'm smitten. I'm truly smitten by Secret Rogue. Which, as I mentioned last week, Rogue has historically been just an average class in terms of my how attracted I am to play it. Yeah, exactly. So I'm absolutely taken by it. I'm really digging the Secret Rogue. But the games tend to go long, and I still feel like I'm learning Secret Rogue and still picking up nuances. So some of I am roping so many turns. I'm getting flashbacks to life coach games, playing Secret Rogue right now. And sometimes I just want to break, Joss. Like, I just want to break. I just want to slam some ladder games, and Murloc Paladin is my break, as I smack my keyboard, is my break from Secret Rogue right now. And I'm really enjoying it. And for basically that exact reason. I kind of know if I've got a chance or not pretty early on in the game. And it would appear that my opponents know too, because boy, have I seen some early concedes against my Murloc Paladin.
Yeah, I find my early concedes tend to come against either Murloc Paladin or against the Tempo Demon Hunter. I usually know by turn 4 whether it's going to be a game I can win or one that's just not worth me playing out for my own ladder mentality, tiltedness. So I feel like, those are definitely the early concede games, as if I see people just going off, then I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm out. But I think that you're absolutely right about the way a lot of decks are playing out right now. There's a lot of kind of randomness going on. There's a lot of randomly generated things. If you're playing the Galakron Secret Rogue, then every time you are invoking, you're getting random lackeys, and then those random lackeys are potentially giving you random spells. on top of just the secret engine itself, giving you random secrets when you play secrets. And then if you look at, Spell Mage, there's lots of randomly generated stuff in there too. And Res Priest, which is also quite popular, is, getting random resurrect things and potentially like stealing from you. And if they're running Galakron, then they also have that hero power that gives you the random priest minion. So there's a lot of kind of moving pieces in those decks that do require you to have a knowledge of not only the deck that you're playing, but also the deck that your opponent is playing, to know when to use these randomly generated resources and how to make the best use out of them when they aren't necessarily the piece that you need exactly. So I think that they do take a lot of flexibility and skill in order to pilot correctly, which means that over time they can be exhausting. And I'm not surprised that people, and I think kind of Highlander decks maybe don't have as much like randomly generated things, but Highlander decks also tend to play out kind of the same way because you only have one copy of everything. So again, it's assessing every turn, seeing what your resources are, seeing what you've got left in your deck. And I think that those can be mentally exhausting. So taking something like a Murloc Paladin or a Demon Hunter where it's just like, okay, let's go. Do I have it or do I not have it? Game's over one way or the other by, turn 5 or 6.
Yeah,
it's a nice break.
It is a nice break, and back to kind of
or Face Hunter too.
The having to plenty of Face Hunters out there. But by the way, we know that the meta has settled, Jocelyn, when there are 3 Hunter decks that are considered competitively viable on HS Replay, which at the moment appears to be Highlander Hunter, Face Hunter, or Dragon Hunter. I love that Dragon Hunter is still finding wins. Because as you know,
I like all 3 of those decks actually. I'm a big fan of Highlander Hunter. I've been playing a lot of that. I haven't touched Dragon Hunter in a while because the Highlander Hunter kind of has that dragon package in it. So you still get a little bit of a feel of like the dragon early to mid game while you've got some of these cool Highlander pieces in it too. And then Face Hunter again, when I need to just know if I want fast games, I need to know if I've won or lost within, turn 5 or 6. Face Hunter is my go-to deck because Murloc Paladin's still fun. But I cannot bring myself to play Demon Hunter, guys. I'm sorry. I know some of you out there really like it. I've seen the messages, the tweets, the emails. I know that I am maybe not the only one, but I know that there are many of you out there that do enjoy Demon Hunter. So I'm sorry I've been so down on them. It's just not my jam. But that's kind of what makes Hearthstone, right?
Can I try and sell you on it with just a tiny bit of personal trolling? Aren't you a little curious?
No. I'm kidding. Okay, tell me.
Okay, Jocelyn, historically, where have you fallen on things like mech decks?
I quite enjoyed mech decks. You know that. So, I enjoyed mech mage. I've enjoyed mech paladin.
So if I told you I had a deck, Jocelyn, that just worked wonderfully if you happened to draw correctly, and kind of sucked if you didn't, you'd be interested in that because I'm describing mech. I'm describing mech decks.
I was going to say, are you trying to personally troll me, or are you personally trolling yourself with your terrible mech draws? Because it feels like you're trolling yourself. I think
yes is the answer to this. Just yes. But I have historically not really liked mech decks because it feels like if the draws don't work perfectly, there's just no chance. And I don't like that type of play style. And to me, I feel Demon Hunter has kind of arrived at this point, at least the tempo list. I think Highlander Demon Hunter is its own thing, which if you like Highlander Hunter, you should totally try Highlander Demon Hunter because it is its own breed. It feels very, very different from the popular Demon Hunter lists that are out there. But the Tempo Demon Hunter list, I got a hair, and this is anecdotal, but I got a hair this week, and I was like, I'm going to go back and play some Tempo Demon Hunter. It's the worst losing streak I've had in a very, very, very long time in Hearthstone, because I just drew Jack for like 5 games in a row. Just didn't have anything. I never found a weapon. And it was just like, okay, all right, and okay, nothing's going into my outcast. And I actually got some bad Skull of Gul'dan draws. Actually, most of the games, my early game was so poor that the Skull of Gul'dan, it was irrelevant. I had just taken too much damage at that point. So I'm a little personally down on Tempo Demon Hunter right now, and I don't see what all the fuss is about. So I'm rather...
I think the reason why Tempo Demon Hunter has the win rate that it has is that it is so incredibly strong that with the right draws, you can win. Like, you just blow people out if you know how to play it really well and manipulate your hand and like next level Demon Hunter play, you can turn a lot of games into a really good draw. And I think that those people are kind of pulling the win rate up a little bit, because you're definitely right. I know it is the kind of deck that can just totally flatline and draw poorly. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like there's people that know how to play it are getting a really high win rate. It's almost like a patron, right? Like it never had a super inflated win rate because it was a very powerful deck. But if you didn't really know what you were doing, you would get a lot of losses. So I feel like that's the kind of thing. Like, I don't know if anyone's actually winning 50% of their games. I feel like some people are winning 80 and some people are winning 20.
I'm going to challenge you on this a little bit, because I think it was just last week that we both kind of were like ripping on Demon Hunters a little bit, saying, don't think it's too hard to pilot Demon Hunter. So is it difficult to pilot Demon Hunter, or is it not, Jocelyn?
I know. And this is the thing, is that I feel like it's constantly evolving as our understanding of the class and its place in Hearthstone evolves. It's the kind of thing that is going to change. I mean, I don't know. I honestly can't say, because it feels like absolutely every single person that I play against just gets the nuts draws, which makes me think that there's got to be more to it than just luck, because if you don't get the right cards in your outcast positions, then you don't get the power of the deck. So I don't know how it's happening, if it is just everyone I play against gets super lucky, or if Demon Hunter cards are super powerful, or if they're doing something that I can't see to manipulate their hand and play it well. I mean, I've tried, I have not, I think I've probably played 5 or 6 Demon Hunter games since they launched the class. Like, I had a quest to do 2 or 3, and then, it was finally, I tried the whole, if you can't beat them, join them thing. And my games were not great. I didn't like playing it. I didn't draw well. And then, so it kind of got me thinking, because I'm like, okay, I have not spent a lot of time playing this class. I have not spent a lot of time seeing what they see necessarily. So
well, they're
I'm not
Demon Hunters, so that's a little difficult.
Yeah, exactly. Unless I'm ready to rip out my own eyes, which I am not, let's be clear. So yeah, it's definitely the kind of thing where I'm not really sure what's going on their end. And I think that that's kind of that is the two possibilities, right? Like, is everybody super lucky, or the cards are overpowered, or are Demon Hunters doing something to play in a way that I'm not understanding? And I think it's probably more of the latter. I don't necessarily, I don't know. I just honestly, I don't know. I'm not really in a position to say, and I'm trying to temper my Demon Hunter hate because of that, because my gut reaction to the class is, I hate it so much. I wish they'd never put it in. It was fine with 9 classes. This is like, why? Like, that is my gut reaction to Demon Hunter. Like, I just hate it. But I don't know if that's me being like super like curmudgeon-y and not really giving it a chance, and letting the original launch feelings kind of stick around post nerf, even because they've obviously made changes to it. It's dropped in power level. The meta has, like we were talking about before, the meta has kind of evened out a little bit. So I'm trying to temper my feelings and kind of put myself in a Demon Hunter shoes, I guess. I'm trying to be nicer to this new class. And maybe there's something there that I'm just not understanding. So I'm trying to kind of give it the benefit of the doubt by saying maybe it's difficult to play as I grit my teeth and cry.
Well, yeah. I mean, I have a feeling, Jocelyn, that given your comments, that Some replies may be, yeah, Josh, sounds like you might not be giving him a chance. But everything you just said, I agree with everything you just said. If you replace Demon Hunter with Altruist, that's how I feel. That's how I feel. I hate that card. I hate it so much. But yeah,
which, to be fair, that card specifically is where a lot of my feelings come from. It just feels terrible when they get a good Altruist turn, which again, maybe takes more setup than I'm giving them credit for. But when they get a good turn and they're able to either just flat out kill me out of hand, or they're able to get me down to an unrecoverable position where my entire board has been cleared. They've dealt like anywhere from 15 to 25 damage to my face, and they still have a handful of resources for the follow-up. That is a very, very frustrating position to be in. And I think probably the biggest problem that I have with Demon Hunters in general is this play style, or like a turn like that, which just feels like they get more often than maybe they should. But again, there might be a way to set that up that is a little bit more difficult to pull off. I don't know, because I haven't played a lot of Demon Hunter, so I might just be missing some pieces there. And so it looks like they just got super lucky and all their cards are OP, but really they put a lot of work into making that hand positioning happen. But I think Altruist himself is probably a lot of what I feel like is unfair, because you can kind of go turn for turn with a Demon Hunter up until that point, feel like you've done everything that you could do and you've used all your resources correctly. You've built your deck to counter their early game to make sure that you can even, start to do the thing that your deck wants to do. And then all of a sudden it's just like, okay, you've got no board, you've got no health, you're done.
So would you,
and that's an Altruist thing,
to try and put a bow on this so we don't, want to go back down the Demon Hunter rabbit hole again. But to just put a bit of a, are you comfortable saying that, cause I share a decent amount of your feelings. I'm still not as I don't feel as strongly as you do, but
yeah,
at least we agree on Altruist. Would you agree that we are now in feeling, we're in feeling territory now, right? And not like statistical objective truth
anomalies,
territory,
yes.
like where at launch Demon Hunter was broken, actually broken, and played by
actually
so many people that is
provable broken.
Yeah. And so now we have arrived where Demon Hunter is a top tier deck, but has poor matchups. Definitely falls into the kind of traditional Hearthstone rock paper scissors. If it is scissors, there is more than one rock out there to counter it, and also like it is a more or less fair deck. It just has points that still feel bad. We're more in feels bad than is bad territory, I believe.
Yeah, I can definitely agree with that. And I think because I was coming from a place of like, this feels so bad. And I never really let go of my feelings from the first week of Demon Hunter. I think like, it's going to be harder for me to get back up there. And I'm wondering if it also has a lot to do with my rank and where I'm playing on the ladder right now, because I know you and I are both the same spot, but it very much feels like it's just Demon Hunter after Demon Hunter after Demon Hunter. Like, I am basically still facing 60 to 75% of my games against Demon Hunter. And it's just
insane.
I have this like Demon Hunter exhaustion going on where I just queue into them and I'm like, okay.
Someone is screwing with you. I have to imagine there's a button somewhere. Because I have seen just as many. I'm looking at my stats right now. I'm tied with Rogue. I'm tied with I'm seeing just as many Shaman as I am Demon Hunters.
Oh,
Shaman,
Garrett. I wonder if I'm queuing
Priest
at the wrong
close.
time.
Priest is close. I don't know. I can't. I never try to read into when you should queue. Obviously, there's something to be said for weekends, but for me, it seems entirely irrelevant as to the quality of the opponent that I am facing. It's just hard right now. Did you see Orange's tweet the other day, by the way?
No, I missed it. What did Orange tweet?
Orange tweeted the other day, it was his win rate, I believe, for the season. Let me see if I can pull it up so I'm not misquoting here. But as I find it, freaking, of course, Orange, you delightful man, you tweet a lot. Can't find it. Damn. I believe it was his win rate for the season. I could be misquoting. Maybe it was just for the week or whatever. But he was showing his win rate in HS3 Play and was basically saying to the effect of, hey, if you're not feeling great about your win rate right now, just know that, like hopefully this gives you some solace. And his win rate was like a dead 50%. And this is Orange, formerly of Grandmasters, one of the most consistent damn Hearthstone players out there. So, like, that's been my experience as well. I think last I checked, my win rate for the season is 47%.
Oh, I guess I'm doing quite well then. I was feeling pretty bad, but I think I'm at about 57.
Wow.
56 or 57.
Hot damn.
For the season.
What are you complaining about?
And this is kind of the thing, is that it's not necessarily, and I've kind of said this since the beginning, it's not that I'm losing to Demon Hunter. It's that the games that I'm in with Demon Hunter, I'm not enjoying, and they have been the vast majority of my games. And and this is probably why my ratio is still really high, is because I'll log in, I'll go like queue up for a ladder game. It'll be a Demon Hunter. And I'll just be like, okay. And then I'll do another game and it might be somebody else. And then I'll do another game and it's a Demon Hunter. And then I'll do another game and it's a Demon Hunter. And then I just go into Battlegrounds. And I'm not playing the number of games that I was at the beginning of the season, because I just have this like Demon Hunter fatigue going on. And so I'm not changing my initial like stats enough. And my win rate is remaining high because, I'm doing fine. I'm not going on big loss streaks or anything, because I'm not playing 10 to 15 games a day or more. At the beginning of the season, that's what I was playing. Now I'm getting a couple in, facing 2 or 3 Demon Hunters and saying, okay, I've had it, and leaving. So maybe I just need to play more, but sure. Demon Hunters are making me not want to.
That is very interesting. Yeah, because win rates are just tough, and I think as we've touched on over the past couple of weeks since the ladder change. Really, it's just a factor of the new ladder. Is matchups are neck and neck, no matter where you are. So it is weird. I'm firmly in your camp, by the way, at this point. I don't want to get into another, at the risk of sending us off another tangent, I am firmly in your camp of just show me the damn MMR. I just want to see a number go up and down because I feel like shit right now.
Yeah, and I think we did get a question this week that I didn't put in the show notes because I want to save it until we've had a chance to get into the next season and try another climb, like just put a little bit more of this specific ladder under our belts before we really give kind of like a post-mortem of what we really think about it overall. And I do think that, the MMR is a big piece of it. For me, it was like, how was my initial like star bonus / MMR decided? I don't think there was a lot of clear communication about that. And so that kind of, again, put me in not necessarily the best mind state for doing ladder this season. And I've kind of like leveled out, and I don't necessarily have the drive to just grind like crazy to try to get any higher this season. I'm trying to think of it as a month over month climb. And so because of that, I am very much like want to reserve my final ladder update thoughts.
Yeah, I think that's fine. You're clearly not alone
for a couple of weeks,
because I have, at least in the past 7 days, I've been very beaten down. Because at first I thought it was because I was deck jumping, and that's probably still playing a role. Had I stuck to a damn deck and actually learned some things, I probably would be doing better. But I actually have basically stuck with Galakron or with Secret Rogue since last week, since the last update, and I'm still not getting a positive win rate. And it's getting to me right now. I'm a little bruised. Like my Hearthstone ego is quite bruised at the moment, and it's just something I guess I'm not used to from this game. I'm used to it in from forever ago StarCraft. I'm used to it in Heroes of the Storm. I am not used to a closer, if not below 50% win rate in Hearthstone. It just feels alien to me. And has left me, I don't know, personally unfulfilled with this card game at the moment. So Yeah, anyways, there's our therapy. Hope you have enjoyed it, everybody. Grandmasters is going on and has like rocketed Zoo back into popularity. Also, if you're wondering where all the warriors went, I am not. It's about it's literally the thing I love the most about Hearthstone right now is I see maybe one warrior a week. I'm totally fine with that. If I never played against another warrior for the rest of my life, I'd be very okay with that. However, warrior, super popular in Grandmasters. The representation is kind of insane, and seems to be no consensus on what the correct deck or deck list is. So it's actually kind of wild and kind of an amazing. It's one of my favorite things in Grandmasters right now is watching warrior games, which is the antithesis of what I want to experience in my actual gameplay. So I don't know what that says about me. I hope somebody out there right now is like a therapist and is just like, oh, Garrett is this type of person. I hope you're like taking notes because I feel like I'm bearing a window to my Hearthstone soul on this episode. So
I think so. I didn't actually have a chance to watch very much Grandmasters this weekend, but I do think that the Warriors making such a crazy appearance in Grandmasters, even though it's super unpopular on ladder, I think it's kind of like a symptom of last hero standing, right? It's of just the fact. Well, first of all, they had to bring all 10 decks, right? So they had to bring.
Nope. That's this week.
Oh, okay.
Last week was last hero
just
standing.
A last hero standing. Okay, like normal last hero standing.
Yeah, this week is bring all decks, but it's conquest.
Oh, okay.
They're not doing
all
a bring all
got
decks last hero standing, at least not yet.
Okay. But anyway, so yeah, with last hero standing, those matches just kind of play out a lot differently than conquest does. And so therefore, I think that warrior, it's not quite as surprising, but you're right. Like nobody can kind of decide on what the best way to play warrior is. But I think like there's a control variant out there that's half decent. There's also the egg warrior, which is a little bit more aggressive. And then you've got bomb warrior, which is kind of a little bit more tempo. And all of them are fairly strong in a tournament format. But I think if you can't just dealing with the ladder right now is way more volatile. There are way more ways to play Hearthstone. And if you can't target something specifically, you're going to have a bad time. And I feel like warrior is one of those decks where depending on the variation that you pick, you have a very specific deck that kicks your butt and you don't want to face. And they kick it hard. So you they have, I think, probably the most polarizing matchups of anything going on right now. And so because of that, you can go into a tournament and say, okay, I'm banning the thing that is, I have a 20% win rate against, but everything else I have really good chances against, but you can't ban anything on ladder, right? So, most of the time their terrible matchups are going to be something like a Res Priest or a Demon Hunter. And if you can't say, I don't want any Demon Hunters or Res Priests on my ladder, then, your warrior is going to have a bad time. So in the tournament sort of environment, I think warrior is just going to flourish compared to ladder.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment. It's part of what makes tournament play really interesting. And why I would still be interested. That's
also why you can't just grab a tournament deck and play it on ladder.
Yeah, although a lot of the decks, are looking pretty analogous to what we are playing at home. So that is pretty cool. Yeah. I've been learning a lot about Secret Rogue just by watching Grandmasters, which is pretty rad. But yeah, anyways, it was last hero standing last week. This week is the bring 10 decks. They're going to ban 6 of them, and then you're going to play out a conquest game. So I am crossing my fingers. It's going to happen because there's so many bans. I just want to see some damn Totem Shaman and some Paladin games in Grandmasters. Paladin's going to be interesting. It seems to be the left out in the rain at the moment.
Yeah, and it's kind of funny because everyone seems to be agreeing that Paladin isn't great.
Well, outside of Murloc Paladin.
Yeah, but they can't seem to decide. There's a lot of people that still are standing behind Libram Paladin as a very good deck as long as it is built and played correctly. And it's nothing's kind of settled in Paladin. And so I'm interested to see if we actually get to see some Paladin be played, which I think that we will, because I think that there's going to be a lot of Grandmasters that aren't going to bother banning Paladin because there's so many other really, really strong things going on. So I think some Totem Shamans and some Paladins are going to sneak through. I'm just curious to see what those actual win rates are going to look like in the tournament setting, and if they're actually going to be able to pull out some wins. If people have kind of solved the problem that is Paladin, other than Murlocs, but even then,
and this is where practice and like practice groups were mentioned a few times in Grandmasters this past week, and Gallon and Swids, who are currently tied for the top of their region with 2 other players. In both NA and Europe, we currently have a 3-way tie with 3 players at 8 points. But Gallon is one of them and Swids is one of them. And they are on the same practice team alongside Felkine and Zim. And it appears that seems to be the common link there with those players, because they're all doing quite well. And so I'm kind of curious. I hope the casters get more information about the practice teams and that they bring that into this week's games with this, bring 10, ban 6. Because if there are some big Paladin upsets or even Shaman upsets, I want to know like how much practice went into that. Because I too would, if I was going to this tournament, I'd be thinking the same way. Is, oh well, let's get rid of the things everyone's really well practiced with. Because then,
and this is why this week is going to be so interesting, is because you've got so many decks that they have to bring, and they have to be kind of proficient with everything, because you're never 100% sure how your opponent is going to go about banning your decks, right? So you have to be ready for curveballs. So I feel like because we've known about this for a couple of months now in terms of the format of Grandmasters, this is probably the week that they have been preparing for the most. They have a lot of Conquest experience under the belt, a lot of Last Hero Standing experience under the belt. This is the format, this 10 deck 6 ban, that is so far out of their comfort zone in terms of just how much tournament experience they have. So if I was a Grandmaster, what I would be doing like from week 1 would be trying to figure out what the best deck is in each class and jamming as many games as I possibly could on the classes that I thought would get through. So like on the stuff that other people maybe might not be practicing, like on the Totem Shamans, on the Paladins, like I guess on the Warriors. Warrior is another one, right? Like, and there was a lot of representation of Warrior this week. And I wonder, how much that's going to play into next week, or how much next week played into the selections for Last Hero Standing. Like, were they jamming Warrior games going, oh, this actually makes a lot of sense, this is doing really well, maybe, I should bring this on the Last Hero Standing week and not just to the week that I have to bring Warrior,
Yeah, and it's another consideration too for having not having an update this week, right? Because that's another thing where you can if you are confident in your practice with certain decks, you can feel confident, because it's not like certain rugs were pulled out from under you thanks to some sort of nerfs.
God, can you imagine? That would be so frustrating, and I would hope that they wouldn't choose to do that in a 10 deck week. Oh my God.
Well, I always, me, I fall on the side of it's happened to everyone. Everyone's got to deal with the changes. So I'm fine. If they thought that there should be a change, I say do it. I sure as heck wouldn't want to be sitting here if, say, Demon Hunter was still broken, going, oh well, we need to wait for East. I'm like, I don't give a crap about esports. They're making tons of money. I'm at home. I just want to enjoy my game. So that's where my brain goes. But anyways, Grandmaster's been pretty freaking solid. Also, we talked a lot about NA and EU, but freaking Asia Pacific, Surrender, turns out, is a bit of a Hearthstone god. The only player that isn't that is risen above 8 points in any region currently. Surrender sitting at 11 points. That's wild. That's really rad. So if you haven't been tuning in, you should. Again, as a reminder, it's on YouTube.
Yep. Which you do need to put the reminder out there, because that's why I missed it this weekend. I was looking at Twitch and I was like, oh, there's no Hearthstone. I thought that they were grandmastering, and then I was like, oh wait. Well, YouTube.
I watch a lot of it on VOD anyway. So again, as I've mentioned, my experience hasn't really changed all that much. But anyways, before we move into some Battlegrounds talk, we have a sponsor to thank today. Burrow is back. you can go check them out. Check out some awesome, super comfy sofas that you can also customize. And on top of that, you're going to get $75 off your purchase for your trouble by going to burrow.com/TAC. If you're unfamiliar with them, as I mentioned, they make really super comfy sofas. They're super customizable, which is something that I really like because it's hard to get. I hate it when I love a couch and it's just like the wrong orientation for the freaking living room that I happen to definitely be permanently stuck with because it's a house and I can't just change my living room to suit the couch. It'd be easier to change the couch to suit my living room, and that's exactly what Burrow lets me do. So plus, like, it's a couch. Like, how hard it can't be that hard to mess it up, but like, Burrow like puts it up over the edge. It's good. It's a good damn couch. As they put it, I thought this was hysterical. It's a couch for when you're ready to start buying furniture. When you're ready to start choosing your own furniture as opposed to,
whatever's on the side of the street. Because let's be honest, I've definitely done that before.
Yes.
University Jocelyn did not have a big budget.
Oh, I inherited so many questionably clean pieces of furniture in my college and early post-college years. So you should go check them out. And as I mentioned, customize it. You want a certain fabric. You want to chase on a certain side. You want an ottoman. You want to chase on an ottoman. It's your choice. You can have both. That would make my Chihuahua so excited, by the way, because it wouldn't have to fight over who gets the chase or who gets the... It's just like, there you go. You're little dogs. There's plenty of room for all of you. So go check them out. If you haven't already, go do so now. And you can use our link for $75 off your purchase. You're also going to get free 1-week shipping. Go to burrow.com/TAC. That's spelled BURROW.com/TAC for $75 off at Burrow. We thank them for their support. We thank you for using that URL. And now, Jocelyn, let's get into some Battlegrounds talk.
Have a good battle, friend.
Brought to you by writers to tacpodcast@gmail.com. Also patrons who post in the patron Discord. Epinite wrote in and said, this may just be my opinion, but it feels like in Battlegrounds, the gap between good low tiers 1 and 2, and or minions, and bad low tier minions is enormous. If your turn 1 option is something like Murloc Tidecaller, the 2/1 demon guy, or a direwolf, it often feels like you get set back for the entire game because you end up often taking 5 to 6 damage in the early turns that you wouldn't be taking if you got a 2/3 to start, and you don't get the token for future minions later. Similar power differences exist at tier 2, where Spawn of the Zoth, Rat Pack, and Kaboombot are so much better than basically every other option. If I see another turn 3 set of options that consists of 3 non-token tier 1 minions and a Pogo Hopper, I'm going to end someone. Epinite channeling Jocelyn Demon Hunter rage here.
Oh, yeah.
I'm curious if this is a problem just in my own head or if this is a common sentiment, and if it is the latter, what is the solution to the issue? Bringing power of tier 1 minions up a little bit seems power creepy, but it would solve the problem of there being such a defined list of this is crap and this is good that you get right now at that tier. Just curious about your thoughts. I'll pass to you first, Jocelyn.
Okay. So for me, my thoughts are basically that I would really like to see tokens removed from the mode. I think that especially early on, they really mess with the economy of Battlegrounds, and it might be better if everybody just was on the same page, because I agree that when you get the token, it can really impact your ability to kind of get through that mid game. And if you're like you say, if you're offered some of these lesser minions, then you're taking a lot of damage, and you also don't have, because you often take a lot of damage with tokens too, right? Because they're little 1/1s, they die to most other things, so you're often taking a point or 2 of damage through those early turns as well, because they're not the objectively strongest. But because they then allow you to tier up or buy more minions in that mid game portion, you usually end up a lot further along than, and you kind of stop taking that damage, and you end up ahead in that middle game part, and you end up able to better kind of create a comp earlier. And all of that stems from were you offered a token on turn 1. So I would really like to see them just take the Tidecaller and it might not be the Tidecaller. The 2/1 Murloc that makes a 1/1 and also the
Tide Hunter.
Tide Hunter. Okay, yeah, I always get those two mixed up.
Tidecaller is the one you don't want. That's the 1/2.
Right. Yeah. So the 2/1 that you do want, and also the Alley Cat, I think removing those from Battlegrounds might be the solution here. And just replacing them with other kind of middle of the ground tier 1 minions that just don't make tokens. I just think the economy is too important in the early game. And I think that taking tokens out might be the fix here.
So I disagree with everything suggested here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wait, everything I said or everything that he said?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Yes, I like at a really base level. Not trying to sound dismissive. To me, I just look at that. This is the point. There's supposed to be serious power gaps at all tiers, and there are at all tiers. It's kind of the way you do an auto battler, and this is true in other auto battlers I've played. And there's outside of some very specific heroes, looking at you, Lich Basil, there's not a whole lot of ways to play an econ game in Battlegrounds, and I rather like tokens and the extra layer of complexity that they add in the way that you can actually play an economy game early on, or that it can fuel some truly borderline insane and risky like tech switches late game if you like pair with a Khadgar or like, Bran or something of that nature. I really like that. I like that a lot, and I would really be hesitant to lose it. How would you feel if the token generators, at least the minion you buy, had like 0 attack value and only the token was like a 1/1? What if it was extremely unlikely that they were going to lead to a win or a tie in turns 1 and 2, but you were investing in your economy, so you're kind of choosing between that?
I think that would make things more interesting, because I've definitely had other times when, I've gone up against token, although, what happens if you end up going up into an Alley Cat battle and you both have 0/1s left on the board because your 1/1s kill each other off, then, who wins? Is it just, end as a tie? Okay.
Yeah, be a tie.
Fair enough.
Or you both deal damage to each other, which actually I would think would be way cooler.
Yeah, I kind of like that idea, because the thing is, they're not necessarily like strong minions, but they do allow you to fight back and get ties and not take damage. And in some scenarios, again, it depends on who your opponent ends up being and what they have chosen and everything else. Like, there's a lot of factors at play here, but I like the idea of maybe taking away some of that aggression and not being able to get as many trades and having to take damage, more kind of like an AFK sort of a play style, where you're not really impacting your opponents too much in those early turns, and you're probably going to take some damage yourself, but you're investing in that mid game and trying to get a little bit of a head start at that point. I think that becomes a more interesting strategy, and I like that interpretation of tokens. And I'm not necessarily saying that I think they should just, every minion should be of equal power level at all tiers. Like, I completely understand what you're saying, and I haven't played any other auto battlers, so I didn't know that was a thing across all of them, and part of what drives it. But I think we have now, since all the minions that you mentioned here are things that we've had since day one, that I can see that you're kind of getting Spawn of N'Zoth, Rat Pack, Kaboom Bot, Fatigue the same way I've got Fatigue on ladder. And I wonder if the change here that we need to see isn't necessarily a change to the distribution of power in the tiers, but I wonder if we're just ready for a minion shakeup. Like, if we replace those 3 with 3 other really powerful minions, maybe that's what you're actually looking for, as opposed to complaining about the power levels of the minions in the tiers. Maybe you're just sick of seeing spawns and you want some variety.
That's more where I land. like where I start to feel some like camaraderie here as I go, well, I'm certainly bored with the status quo, which Battlegrounds has arrived at like the most settled it has ever been since it hit beta. And we've shaken up heroes a lot. We haven't shaken up minions nearly as much. Obviously the Dragon update was incredible. Don't get me wrong. I do not want to take anything away from it. But
it was a while ago now, though.
Yes,
in Battlegrounds like timelines.
Yes, and we saw so much more playing around with heroes like over the whole life. Now it's been pretty much quiet outside of the Millhouse nerf last week, but I'd like to see like let's shake it up. Let's mess with minions. Heck, why not screw tokens? Another way to do this is like a 1-star minion that like gave you a coin. Like maybe Battlecry had a coin to your hand or something, and it's like a crappy 1/1. So it's like you're gonna take a hit. Because I think between the two, I really don't have a problem with Alley Cat. Alley Cat loses to a lot of different 1-star minions, whereas Tidehunter, it's like, did you go Vulgar Homunculus, or are you like a Yogg or a Deathwing? You're probably at worst tying with the Tidehunter, and you may very well lose to it. Red Whelp is a great example, I think, of disruption, because Red Whelp is very high up there with Murloc Tidehunter, with our 2/3s, with Vulgar Homunculus for their combat win rates at like turn 1, turn 2.
Turn 1 and 2, yeah.
Yeah. So, and Homunculus is another thing, like at least as it exists, I like that risk reward and that making a conscious decision to damage yourself to try and give yourself the better chance of not taking extra damage over turn 1 and turn 2. I like that, and I think, again, if we got rid of things like Tidehunter, that you'd be even less inclined to Homunculus than you already are. So I like that there's a balance that exists from all of this on top of the, again, I'm trying not too much to focus on that's the point. They're supposed to be, like, I think we agree on that. But
yeah, I think it's just minion fatigue. I think more what you're looking for is a mix up to the pool that you're drafting from, more so than, and I think the reason you may not necessarily see it as much in the later game, like you're very much picking on tier 1 and tier 2 with your email here, Epi Knight. And I think that might have to do with the fact that by the time you're hitting, tier 3, 4, 5, you're choosing a comp, and there's enough of a variety there to choose. Like beasts are decent, divine shields and death rattles are cool. You've got dragons are powerful, obviously. You can still go demons. So by that point, you're diversifying. So every match isn't the same. But at tier 1 and tier 2, you're going to get a lot of sameness. So, I mean, even if they just revamp those 2 tiers, I think that would be enough, because, when you have only the ability to, tier up or buy 1 minion, that is going to be the more repetitive part of your Battlegrounds lobby.
Yeah, no, I agree. So yeah, okay. So we're landing on, let's just shake the damn minions up.
I think so.
It's been too soon for too long. Well, they did say that to expect major Battleground shakeups around expansions. So I would imagine that there is one coming relatively soon.
Cross your fingers.
I hope. I really do hope. I'm still enjoying Battlegrounds, by the way, but it is starting to feel a little samey. Also, shout out to comebacks wouldn't feel nearly as sweet if I didn't have to start a damn game every once in a while with a Mecharoo. So, anyways, we have a second Battlegrounds email. Who wrote in this week, Joss?
This comes to us from Yellowflower, who says, "Dear podcast of Noxes," which is an Animal Crossing reference. "I'm wondering if you guys think they will or should allow quests to be completed in Battlegrounds and for the monthly card back to be earned in other modes. Battleground quests seem like a no-brainer since I can complete a lot of them in Tavern Brawl and Arena anyway. What are the chances that this is going to get implemented after it's out of beta? The card back is potentially debatable. I can't stand Constructed personally. I love Battlegrounds. I love the Arena, Tavern Brawl, all the things where I don't have to construct a deck. I have 22 card packs still sitting unopened. It was double that, but with the multiplier protection that came in, I started to open them, but got bored halfway through. I just want to get 5 wins in any mode and still get my card back. Is that reasonable or is that crazy?" I think it's definitely, I can see how it would be reasonable. I'll put it that way. I mean, I do like that there is a reward for constructed, but I can 100% agree that there is no reward that's the same in those other modes that you love, right? So I would almost rather see like a battlegrounds card back, an arena card back, a brawl card back, a wild card back, and a standard card back that you could earn in every month. Now, obviously, that is a huge ask in terms of art. Like that's literally like multiplying the number of card backs we get every month by 5, which is a huge amount of work. I completely recognize that. But I think that having some sort of a reward that you're able to use to show people that you did a certain thing in a certain month is why the constructed card back has done as well as it did. Like I love getting my card backs. Like my card back collection is like, I'm more proud of it than my card collection because I had to actually do something instead of just, spend money or gold. So I'm really proud of my card back collection, and it would be cool if I could show off some of the other areas of the game that I enjoy.
I'm realizing a pretty big hitch in this.
Oh no, what is it?
You never see your card back in Battlegrounds.
That is true. And that's always been something that I was kind of curious about. So in Battlegrounds, if I'm holding cards, you don't see that as the opponent, right?
I do not believe that is the case. No.
Yeah. So I kind of wonder, I've always wondered, just kind of from an informational standpoint, like you see Rafam, he gets a card when he steals one of your minions. Then you can see that he has a card in hand.
Right.
But I think he's the only one.
Is it like a custom card back?
I think it's like might be like a Battlegrounds card back.
Oh my God, we're gonna get so many emails, and please send them because honestly, I've never really thought about this until right this exact moment.
Well, I've always wondered if people could. At first, when I was playing, I was wondering if people could tell that I was holding on to a few minions, and then as I kind of played more and more, I was like, okay, I've noticed that none of my opponents are ever holding cards. Is that because they're never holding on to anything? Am I playing this completely wrong? Like, what's going on? Is nobody hunting triples? Like, that's the kind of information that I think would be really interesting to have in Battlegrounds, and like trying to guess, like, okay, next time I see him, I know he was holding 2 cards. He was probably trying to triple this and this. Or when you see a triple pop up on the side, you could be like, oh, I bet that was this because, he was holding a card, or he had 2 on board, or, like it's another piece of information. And then that could, kind of play into your idea, Yellow Flower, of having like a card back to you, or to be able to use your card backs in the places that you love, including Battlegrounds, is like, if people were holding cards, you'd get to see your cards, or they'd get to see your card back anyways. You wouldn't see it, but they would see it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. It's interesting thought.
Or I mean, you could use your Battlegrounds card back in Arena. There's nothing to say that you would have to use it in the mode you earned it, right?
Don't add any weight to the fact that they're giving me Arena cards in my Battlegrounds pass, please, because that's just silly.
I'm sorry, Garrett.
Stop it. But I would love to get quests done. Class quests would be problematic for obvious reasons. You're not playing a class in Battlegrounds, but
unless they somehow grouped them into classes, like, if Rafam was a warlock and Tyrion was a paladin, and Tyrion's not there anymore, but and the dragons are mages or something. I don't know.
I would want to know then, and that seems like needlessly clunky UI. Like, if anything, it's just like, I don't know, give me the class specifications and maybe, or play X amount of Battlegrounds. Put a little
icon. And in your hero select screen, just put a little icon down in the right corner of each hero so that you know what it is, if it matters to you. And then you never have to show it again.
It's UI, it's Hearthstone. They don't tend to mess with it very much, especially if it is visually cluttered. So I would put chances of that happening. Your ideas
are cluttered.
I would put chances of that happening just below a snowball in hell. That's That's where I would put that. But
do a color border then. I don't know.
anything that lets me complete quests is fine. I don't want to get lost in the minutia of it. I would love to get quests done by playing Battlegrounds
or even
games.
if they are very specific Battlegrounds quests, you could do that too. But then, like the fact that you only get 3 quests per day, how do you balance that out? Maybe let us re-roll more quests. I don't know.
Yeah,
There's a lot of
forcing you to arena, right? Although arena shares.
No,
It is
but you
classes.
you can do wins with a class in arena. Yeah.
It's a little problematic in that way. But the only reason to me it is a problem is because I actually want to play Battlegrounds, so I do want to remember that. Like, it's because Battlegrounds fun that we're even considering this. So I hope that they figure it out at some point. There's probably a lot of options we're not even considering right now, but I'll just have or Battlegrounds, whatever, play 3 games as a hunter or play 3 games of Battlegrounds. It's going to take longer to do than 3 hunter games anyway.
It's true.
Even if I start with Mecharoo. Mm-hmm. So, but yeah, totally in your corner, Yellow Flower. I want to do quests in Battlegrounds so badly. That would be great. I mean, we've been talking about more rewards just in general, so this definitely falls under that. So before we move into crazy game stories and take a few more emails and bring it home, we have one more sponsor to thank today. And that is Harry's. They're back sponsoring this episode of The Angry Chicken. You can join the 10 million who have tried Harry's razors and claim your special trial offer by going to harrys.com/TAC. I have been a Harry's convert for so long. Do not let this terrible 5 o'clock shadow fool you. I've got weird hairs that grow in the middle of my cheek that need to be dealt with. My neck beard is nothing that I like to keep around. I like a nice,
nobody likes 5 o'clock neck, Garrett.
5 o'clock. No, and nobody needs a 5 o'clock neck. No, they do not. So I like to keep in check with my Harry's razor. As I've mentioned before, they converted me from electric. I love it. I'm a big fan of their shave gel. It smells so nice. It's got aloe in it. I'm in Florida. I'm pulling weeds because it's a rainy season. I'm out in the sun. I need the aloe, Joss. I need it. So it's nice.
Such a diva.
I am. Also one of my favorite Overwatch heroes, even though I haven't played in forever. But yeah, big freaking fan. They've got a trimmer blade, which is particularly great for doing little keeping a nice line, or dealing with problematic hairs that are just out in the middle of nowhere, near no beard or anything. You got to deal with a shoulder or two. That can help you out too. So go check them out. Go get your trial set, because listeners of The Angry Chicken can indeed redeem their Harry's trial set over at harrys.com/TAC. And here's what you're going to get. You're going to get a weighted ergonomic handle for a firm grip, a 5-blade razor with a lubricating strip and trimmer blade, rich lathering shave gel with that aloe I mentioned to keep your skin hydrated, and a travel blade cover to keep your razor dry and easy to grab on the go. All of this delivered straight to your doorstep, so you don't need to go overpay at a store, which right now is even more inconvenient than it usually is. So go to harrys.com/TAC to start shaving better today. We thank them for their support, and we thank you for going to harrys.com/TAC. And we also thank you for sending in your crazy game stories.
Is the whole world gone crazy?
You're in trouble now.
You got it!
You can send your crazy game stories to tacpodcast@gmail.com. All the emails today came from there. You can also write in, if you're a patron, to the patron Discord. Redalus. Redalus.
I choose Redalus.
I like Redalus because it sounds more regal in fantasy. I imagine a blood elf sitting behind the board, slinging spells, and Redalus reads. I'm not going to do that voice the whole time. Hey guys, love the podcast, as I think you're doing a fantastic job covering all of the new content that Hearthstone is bringing out. Anyway, here's a crazy game story I thought you would enjoy. I think I may have played the craziest game of Hearthstone I've ever seen. I sat down and queued with my reliquary priest, and after entering the game, I saw a warlock sitting on the other side of the table. Another Galacron warlock game, I think to myself. But my disdain turns to a huge smile as he plays Supreme Archaeology. Now we have a game. After a couple of turns, both of us hero powering, he plays the first card of the game, Expired Merchant, and discards a card I never expected to see, Archivist Elysiana. With my jaw hitting the floor and pure amazement, I coin out my convincing infiltrator and pass the turn back to him. He trades into it, creating 2 more Elysianas before playing another expired merchant. After trading into the merchant, as I have no Mass Dispel in sight, I get comfortable in my seat as I brace myself for a long game. Many turns later, after playing my Galakron I hero power to add a skeletal dragon to my hand. This will be important later. Spoilers! With my remaining mana, I play the skeletal dragon and it adds a Brightwing to my hand at the end of turn. Very nice. I wonder what legendary I will get. Brightwing has pulled my ass out of the fire many times, so I like where this is going. After another 10 turns of a Warlock and a Priest trying to out-control each other, this sounds exhausting, and 11 Reliquary Primes in my deck due to Resurrect effects, I can't even be mad at that. I'm just impressed.
That is so much healing.
Yeah. I finally get an opportunity to play the Brightwing, and who should turn up but my old buddy, Lord Jaraxxus,
Eridar Lord of the Burning Legion.
Sorry, so it's very dry today. I decided to save him for later, but we continue with our control game with Elysianas and Fellord Betrugs boards being fought off by a bunch of floating heads. We get to the final page of our story, turn 36. Are you serious? Book joke, because Elysiana has been played 3 times by this point in the game. Warlock is at 4 health with the Hunter legendary Zixor Prime on board, generated by a random card Elysiana gave him, so no taunts to stop me. I look at my hand to try and find lethal. I see 4 Reliquary Primes, a Cabal Shadow Priest, and Jaraxxus! By this point, I had completely forgotten where this card even came from, but I play the Eridar Lord for lethal damage with the Blood Fury weapon as both players emote, well played. I friended him after the game and we both had a good laugh about the ridiculous adventure we had just been on together, thanks to HS Free Play letting me watch the replay of this game back so I could relive this and write this email to you guys so you could enjoy it too. Holy freaking frick.
Yeah.
It's just... wow.
Turn 36. That's a long Hearthstone game.
Yeah. Yeah. I really do believe that people that play crazy control decks have the most fun in Hearthstone. They definitely...
I really think they do. I mean, this guy playing Supreme Archaeology, if you guys can't remember, is the Warlock quest where you have to draw cards and then you get a hero power that lets you draw cards and then they're free. Yeah, this... if you're playing that, you're just having some fun.
Yeah, if they're not having the most fun, they're definitely making the most friends.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. Oh, that is just absolutely insane. Thank you so much for sharing with us, Ridalis, if that is your real name.
It's probably not.
Oh, fair. Well, let's bring it home by cracking open the mailbag one last time for this week's email section.
Hello?
Hello, it's me.
Hello?
Just quickly, do you get my message?
Yep.
Oh,
Hello, brother.
I'm sick of saying it. Joss, where can people send their emails?
Pretty sure it's tacpodcast@gmail.com, or they can go to the patron Discord, which is what Hidden Jester did. He says, so here's a question for you, Ferocious Fowl. What do you think about the following proposal? When Team 5 is thinking about whether to play, playing against a deck feels bad, they should consider the average game length for the deck, or as a reasonable proxy, the number of turns, as an indicator of the problem. At Platinum 5 or so all weekend, there's been a plague of priest decks that aren't even playing solitaire with some complex combo. They're either just hoping you'll concede, or the Galakron pulls Resurrect minions. It feels super bad to lose to that hot mess and doesn't feel great to win while eating up 25 minutes of game time getting it done. At least win or lose, a Demon Hunter does it quickly. I don't object as much to a combo priest, but this pass and hope you'll give up priest is not much fun to play against. So...
is anyone having a consistent experience on ladder right now? I don't even know what Hidden Jester is talking about here, deck wise. Like, that's, you're seeing nothing but Demon Hunters. Hidden Jester's losing or conceding or very slowly winning against priests that just hope you get bored and wander off. Mm-hmm. What is happening? Nobody has the same ladder experience right now.
I don't even know, man. I don't know. But yeah, so I mean, I do think that the length of game is definitely a factor here. I mean, I'm pretty sure we said earlier on that, yeah, like demon hunters and paladins allow me at least to concede quickly. So it might be a deck that I don't enjoy or class I don't enjoy playing against, but it's over quickly. You've definitely nailed that one way or another. It's usually over really quickly. And yeah, like the games, some of the games that have felt the worst have had really long play times. But at the same time, I think there's also been times in the past, particularly control players, like we just had a crazy game story come in from a priest and a warlock that went to turn 36, where both of them had a great time. So I don't think game length can be the only factor, but I definitely think it is a factor to how bad a deck feels.
I agree. But yeah, I just agree with everything you said. It's like, I don't think it is objectively a bad thing.
To have long games,
yes,
you mean?
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't prefer it. But again, it like depends. The problem, it is just an inherent issue with like card games at a certain degree, because if I'm queuing up as a control deck, I'm personally opting into it.
Right.
But if I am not, and then I go against a control deck, I may be brought into a long game when I wasn't in the mood or expecting one, but that at a certain point, that is just a concession of playing card games. It happens to me in Magic. It happens to me in Hearthstone.
Well, and I feel like if you are playing a deck that you want to have really quick game times, you're probably playing an aggro deck. And so I don't necessarily think that this is as much of a problem for those players, because if an aggro deck cues into a control deck, then probably, like the way the matchups are built, that control deck should win and the aggro deck should run out of speed after only a few turns. So again, that's a quick game. The aggro deck kind of signed up for that. I think where you're starting to get some of these feel bad moments is when you're getting, say a combo or a more of like a tempo-y kind of a thing versus something that's meant to just fatigue you, like the priest is. Like they're just gonna bring back stuff over and over and over again, and they have a ton of healing, and it can be gross, right? So you're doing everything you can to deal damage, and they're just like, oh, I heal it back. I have no win condition. I just can't die. Like that doesn't feel so great. And I think that a lot of that comes from those matchups where the winner isn't quite as clear, and you both have a longer late game type strategy. So, I mean, you can kind of help your cause by playing aggro, I guess, to make your games faster one way or another.
Yeah.
If the long game is what's really making you feel bad.
Yes, which I don't like saying, well, like play something that you may not want to play to hard counter this. But if it got to this point, I would, that's exactly what I would do. I'd be like, I hate this deck. If I see it again, I'm going to scream. I'm just going to hard counter it. I'm going to play the most aggressive burst, just run you down, or I know this is over and leave quickly deck that I can. Unfortunately, it is ladder, so you never truly know what you're going to go up against. And if you have my luck, the second you queue up Face Hunter, you'll never see this priest deck again.
Exactly.
So, but I feel for you, Hidden Jester. I really do, because I have found myself in these scenarios. But at a certain point, I just don't know how actionable any of this truly is, because it's just. There's so much gray area, and it's so nebulous.
Well, it's about the feels, right? And feels can be really hard to quantify. And I think that's what Jester's trying to get at here, is that, turn length, game length, these are numbers that he can attach to his feelings, which I think is a good thing. And we don't actually know what Team 5 uses on their back end to decide when a deck feels bad, because we've seen a number of changes over the years that have been made because decks don't feel good to play against. And I have no idea what the metric is that they are using, if it's all just anecdotal, if they're seeing a certain number of complaints. But again, then we're talking about assigning a number, like this X number of players have now complained about this deck, so therefore it's hit a hidden threshold. Like, we really don't know what they look at. I would be surprised if they don't factor in game length in some way, shape, or form. Like, I think they're probably already doing this, just, on their back end that we can't see.
Probably, yeah. Or I assume it's a mix of many of those things, because say this priest deck really takes off and suddenly it's the hot topic on Reddit, and people just can't stop talking about it. I bet they would probably go look for priest games that are taking a long time, that are ending in concedes instead of lethal damage dealt. And those are the kind of things that they can kind of, I would assume, be able to drill down into and actually take a look at. I don't know for a fact. I do know they have, to my knowledge, pretty robust filter capabilities internally that we are not privy to.
I would hope so.
Yeah. But yeah, whatever the case is, I feel for you, Hidden Jester. I do, because this is basically why I don't like Warriors, because this and it has felt the same for 6 years to me. And priests are starting to feel the same, but I'm finally seeing fewer priests. So, and if I had seen the priest that our Crazy Game Story writer inner Redalis, or their priest that they were playing, I think I would have been a little more interested in it. But anyways, Tom is going to bring us home with the final question this week and says, I just started a week ago and I was wondering if there was a general guideline on what to dust. First of all, welcome to Hearthstone, Tom, and welcome to the Angry Chicken. I'm so glad you found the podcast.
Right? I saw this email and I was just like, oh my God, guys, it's happening. This is not a drill. Players. We have a brand new Hearthstone player.
Now don't scare them away. Don't scare Tom away like everyone I'm sure is scaring Olivia Munn away at the moment. I don't know if you saw Olivia Munn tweet out that she plays Hearthstone, but y'all just dial it back a little bit.
Yeah. Calm down.
Jeez.
Famous people are just like us.
Yes. Yes. I mean, we haven't all been in, X-Men Apocalypse, but, I'm more of an Olivia Munn fan from the Newsroom. And Attack of the Show on G4, because for some reason I got G4. It's apparently was a very obscure channel. Anyways, Tom, I don't know of a dust guide. Whenever there is nerfs, okay, so you're brand new.
Yeah,
when
brand
card
new.
nerfs hit,
when cards get changed.
I'm going to go on a very short limb here and assume that Tom understands nerf, and if not, Tom, go ahead and Google what nerf means in video games. Okay, now you know that it means something has been reduced in power in usually a patch form. When a card gets nerfed in Hearthstone, if you have that card, you can then disenchant it for its full dust cost. So how much dust it would have costed you to craft it, even if you didn't craft that card in the first place. If you found it naturally through cracking packs, or it was rewarded to you. By the way, you can just have cards rewarded to you randomly by your seasonal performance on the Hearthstone ladder. I promise I'm going to stop all these little asides, but yeah. So when that happens, usually guides come out around that. Especially if we know a nerf is coming, you'll see all kinds of blogs pop up all over the place. It's like, hey, here's how you take a look on. Really, if the nerf's happening, just see if you have that card. And another kind of fun thing,
and see if it's a nerfing out of orbit. Like if they're really lowering the power level to the point that the card won't really see play anymore, then those are the kind of ones you want to get rid of. But you don't want to get rid of stuff that you're actually going to use.
Yes.
And then
don't get rid of Demon Hunter cards because they're still totally insane.
Yes, they are still very good. Don't dust your Demon Hunter cards. But I think I'm trying to remember back now to when I first started playing. And I think for me, my early dust strategy, which I think worked fairly well, was to choose a class that I really enjoyed. So for me, it was Hunter. I played Hunter exclusively for, probably a year and a half. Like I really, really loved Hunter. It took me a long time to kind of branch out. It was actually probably like GVG when I started playing a lot of Mage because I liked Mech Mage as well. But that whole time before that, I was playing pretty much exclusively Hunter. And if you choose a class that you really enjoy, then you're going to basically like disenchant all the other stuff. Unless they're epics or legendaries, you get a lot of dust for those, but they're also very expensive to craft. So maybe take your time on those, but like all the other, like the commons and rares and stuff, basically get rid of the classes that you know you won't play right away and try to focus in on one that has a play style that you really enjoy or has a lot of different viable decks. Because if it has a lot of different viable decks, then you can maybe, double dip on some of those cards because they'll be used in multiple decks. But yeah, I think choosing a class that you enjoy, and also if you're a new player, I don't know if you're familiar with, like, if you've been through the whole experience and if you've chosen a deck, but The Highlander Mage deck we talked about a few weeks back that is an offering to new and returning players after you play through like a tutorial type thing and you're offered a deck. That one actually has, first of all, it's viable, but it also has the highest dust value if you do decide that you don't like playing Mage. So I don't know if you've already chosen your deck and you did or didn't pick Mage, but that is something that you could absolutely do. But I would say pick a class and then kind of disenchant the other stuff for the classes that you won't play right away.
I agree. It's what I did very, very early on, as I mentioned before, but I love telling this story. I got out of the beta. I was a big Shaman fan in the Hearthstone beta, and then like our card collection reset because it's launched now and the beta collection is irrelevant. And I cracked the Nosdormu, which is still not a good legendary. The original Nosdormu. And it was a golden Nosdormu, and I dusted that sucker immediately and rebuilt my Shaman deck because I knew I wanted to focus on Shaman, and I've done that before. And now I do it to a much lesser extent because I do spend a decent amount of money, but I still have a budget. I don't just throw money at Hearthstone until I have full collections. So I still go through. Obviously, this takes a lot more research, but when I know a card is not competitively viable, and I personally believe that the risk of me dusting this card is very low, that this card will start seeing play, I'll go through and dust some things. And I usually also look for golds because they're worth a lot more dust. And it's like, well, am I ever going to use this card? Sure, it's pretty, but it's worth a lot more dust, and it could go towards a card that I actually want to play and win games with right now. So those are some just basic dusting tips that we can give you, because and if anyone out there knows of a dust guide, I'd love to see it. But I have to imagine this is the kind of thing that changes constantly as the meta evolves. Like what we would assume is a safe card to dust,
you might end up having to craft a month or two down the road. But again, It also depends, what level Tom is wishing to compete at. Like, are you looking for, a really fun deck to play, or are you looking to climb the ladder as quickly and efficiently as possible? Does your rank on ladder really matter? Like, there's a lot of factors that could potentially play into what you should be dusting. But you're actually really lucky because there's a lot of tools out there, because you're starting Hearthstone later on into its life cycle or whatever you want to call it. Because you are coming to Hearthstone a little bit later on, there are lots and lots and lots of websites and tools that weren't available to us when we started playing. So, HS Replay is a perfect example, because you can literally search HS Replay by cards and you can see stats about the cards. So if you have an epic or a legendary or something that you're really not sure about, you can go and find out how many people are playing this card. What's the win rate like? All of this information is just out there now because of all these tools that are available. So it's the kind of thing that you can make a really educated decision on. Whereas, when I was first playing, I was totally just YOLO. This one's pretty. I like this craft. This one's not pretty. I don't play rogue. Disenchant.
Yeah.
I think I've probably disenchanted 4 Van Cleefs over the history of Hearthstone, which, now I play. So
yeah. I really think focusing on 1 or 2 classes is great. If you're completely open right now, I think Warlock and Hunter are historically really safe bets, especially if you're trying to play on a budget, because Warlock and Hunter tend to always find budget ways to get wins on ladder. Same has been true for every other class, but Warlock and Hunter, it seems like always, almost any damn expansion, any damn meta, there's usually a zoo list and some sort of affordable Hunter list, be it mid-range or face. That gets work done. And I also want to give a shout out to Hearthstone Top Decks, because they do run crafting guides, not a dust guide, but they run crafting guides, and their one for Ashes of Outland was updated 9 hours ago. So they're pretty damn well researched. I tend to agree with a lot of the decisions that they come to on safe crafting bets, but they're also pretty general, I find. So I personally would lean more towards focus on a class, because if you want to just get quests done, climb the ladder, have give yourself the best shot at consistent wins, filling out a class is just the easiest way to go about that. So best of luck to you, Tom, and let us know how it goes. You can write back in, or you can tweet to us at TAC Podcast. We both keep an eye on the Twitter. We love hearing follow-ups from folks that write in that we give advice to, because want to know if we're totally full of it or not. So
we totally are.
Thanks for writing in, Tom. Thank you everybody for writing in today. Got to a lot of emails. We really appreciate it. tacpodcast@gmail.com. That's going to do it for this episode. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening. Thank you to our patrons for supporting us. If you'd like to support the Angry Chicken and get some perks, head on over to patreon.com/TAC. And speaking of our patrons, thank you very much to our producers, Declan H. and Cheesy Bob. Thank you very much for being a major cornerstone of us continuing to do this show and spend as much time as we do producing it. You can follow the show on Twitter @TAC Podcast, and typically we're live when Twitch works, Wednesdays at 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time over at twitch.tv/AMoveTV. But we do other shows as well. And Jocelyn, where can folks find yours?
You can follow me on Twitter and Twitch. I'm at Joss Plays. That's JOCE Plays. We've been playing a lot of stuff, talking a lot about next gen and everything else over on Gamers Inn. There's been a lot of rumors flying around about who's actually going to put a console out, who won't put a console out, who's waiting for who to kind of cave and push to 2021. So if those are the kind of industry conversations that you're interested in, go and check out the Gamers Inn.
Nice. You can find me on Twitter @GarrettArt. This podcast and every other one that I produce can be found over at amove.tv. Plenty of Blizzard goodness over there. Just recorded a new WoW killer this morning with Taliesin. We talked about our thoughts on Pathfinder, the achievement, not the D&D, it's not a spin-off competitor. Doing Let's Talk About Star Wars for the final Clone Wars season. And if y'all could do me a favor and head on over to bit.ly/workingremote3, the number 3, not spelt out. I am doing a YouTube series of shorts of tips videos on how to kind of up your remote working game when you're calling in on your next Zoom meeting or Discord or Skype, however the hell it is you're meeting. And I just put out a checklist to stop you from having to be that person that has to sit there and troubleshoot your darn microphone for the first 10 minutes of your next Zoom meeting.
So, I work with those people.
Also, if you're interested in podcasting, there's a lot of crossover. I do most of this I do the same checklist before I start a podcast. So go check it out. bit.ly/workingremote3. It will show you the latest remotely video. It's called Remotely. So go check it out. You get to see me trying to look nice and using a teleprompter. I snuck in a Murloc reference in this one. I stole Katie's Murloc robe. And it's in there for a nice visual gag. So watch it, find the Murloc, let me know you found it, and enjoy. It's going to wrap it up for this week's episode of The Angry Chicken. Thank you so much again, everybody, for listening. Until next time, job's done.
Job's done.